Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going on a hunt back to 1987 to revisit Predator. We're going to go deep, beyond Arnold, beyond the muscles and the one-liners, to find out what makes this film such a classic. We're using this really interesting podcast discussion about the movie as our source material to guide us through this deep dive, so strap in, because we're about to explore how Predator blends genres, subverts our expectations, and delivers some thought-provoking themes along the way.
You know, one of the things that make Predator so fascinating is how it really works on these multiple levels, right? You can totally just enjoy it as a pure action flick, but there's also a lot more going on underneath the surface if you really pay attention.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just explosions and alien encounters. What are some of those elements for you that elevate it beyond just a typical action movie?
Well, I think you got to start with the Predator itself. This is not just some mindless monster. This is a strategic hunter. It uses invisibility, advanced technology, its understanding of the environment to stalk and take down its prey.
I've always been so struck by the way the filmmakers created that dread and tension around the Predator. Just thinking about the way it blends into the jungle, the
Right.
sound design, those brief glimpses of its thermal vision. It's truly terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a masterful blend of action and horror. And like a great example of that is that iconic roar. You know that roar
Yeah.
is actually a mix of different animal sounds. Like you got elephant trumpets in there, lion growls, bear roars. I mean, they really wanted to make sure that roar created a sense of primal fear, something that, really spoke to our deepest instincts.
Oh, for sure. Hearing that roar for the first time,
Yep.
you just know instantly that you're dealing with something different, not just another human adversary. But something I always found interesting was that this incredibly advanced, otherworldly creature chooses to hunt. This group of elite soldiers. What do you make of that choice?
Well, I think it speaks to the film's exploration of masculinity and war. You know, these soldiers, they represent the peak of human strength and military power, and yet they are completely outmatched by this alien hunter. I think it's really kind of a deconstruction
Hmm.
of that typical 80s action hero, showing that even the toughest guys are vulnerable when they come up against a truly superior predator.
That vulnerability is something that we just don't usually see in action films,
Yeah.
especially from that era. It really creates that sense of suspense and unease because you know these characters, even with all their bravado and firepower, they're in serious danger.
Totally. I think that's one of the things that sets Predator apart is playing with your expectations the whole time. Like it starts at like a very familiar mission in the jungle, but then very quickly
Yeah.
it turns into this terrifying fight for survival where the rules are constantly changing.
Yeah, and the environment itself almost
Hmm.
becomes a character in the film, too. I'm thinking about that dense jungle, the claustrophobic heat, the constant feeling of being watched. It
Yeah.
really adds to the sense of dread.
Oh, totally. The jungle's both a battleground and a trap. The Predator knows how to use it to its advantage. It blends into the shadows, sets ambushes, turns the soldiers' tactics right back on them. It's a constant reminder that nature itself can be a very formidable foe.
Absolutely. Which brings us to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Dutch. How does he, as our protagonist, measure up against this seemingly unstoppable force? I mean, he's known for his brute strength, but is that enough
Yeah.
to survive this encounter?
Well, that's where things get really interesting because Dutch, despite being this quintessential 80s action hero, he realizes he can't rely on his muscles alone. He has to adapt, think strategically, and even use the environment and his own vulnerability as weapons against the predator. You know, think about that scene where he covers himself in mud to mask his heat signature.
Oh, yeah, it's a brilliant subversion
Mm.
of the typical action hero trope. He's not just blowing things up, he's using his wits and cunning to outsmart a technologically superior enemy.
Exactly. And I think it's a real testament to how smart the film is, that it shows brains can be just as effective as brawn, maybe even more so in a situation like this.
So we're really starting to see now how Predator goes beyond the surface level of a typical action flick. It's really about survival, strategy, and confronting your own limits when you
Yeah.
come up against a really formidable adversary.
Mm.
But I feel like there's still more to unpack here.
Oh, absolutely. We've only just scratched the surface of the themes and the symbolism that are at play in Predator.
Yeah,
We're going to delve deeper into those layers in our next segment.
yeah, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back to explore the lasting impact of Predator and what this film might reveal about us as humans. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're continuing our hunt through Predator this time. We're looking past that initial thrill of the hunt to consider the film's lasting impact and what it might tell us about ourselves, about humanity.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Predator has had a huge impact on film. I mean, this wasn't just a successful movie. It really set off a whole wave
Hmm.
of imitators. And it arguably changed the whole landscape
Yeah.
of action films, blending genres, this unforgettable antagonist asking those thought-provoking questions about what it means to be human. I mean, it's undeniable, its impact.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you see echoes of Predator in so many films that came after it,
I,
especially the way it mixes action and sci-fi horror. But what do you think it is about the original that's so hard to replicate? It's like none of the sequels or reboots have really captured that same magic
yeah.
of the original.
It's a tough question. I think it's a lot of things all coming together at once. You know, you've got this really tight script, super charismatic cast, groundbreaking special effects, especially for its time. And then you've got the director, John McTiernan. He knew how to build that suspense and deliver that action that's both brutal and stylish, all at the same time.
Oh, and don't forget, Alan Silvestri's score. It is
Oh.
so effective at building atmosphere
Yeah.
and cranking up the tension.
Absolutely. A total masterclass in minimalism. You know, it doesn't overpower the action. It just subtly underlines the mood of each scene, whether it's the eerie silence of the jungle or the heart-pounding intensity of that final showdown.
All these elements working together to create this world that feels so familiar and yet utterly terrifying. You have these elite soldiers at the very top of their game,
Mm.
dropped into a situation where all of their training and firepower is useless against this unknown, technologically superior predator.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so compelling. It's forcing these characters and us as viewers to really confront our own limitations. You know, like what happens when we come face to face with something that just totally challenges our understanding of the world, something that operates outside the rules that we're used to.
It's almost Shakespearean in a way, isn't it? This primal struggle between man and nature, the fight for survival against these impossible odds, and then this exploration of the darkest parts of human nature. It's all there.
Yeah, I think that's a really great observation. Predator really does tap into those universal themes in a way that connects with people across cultures and generations. It's a story that goes beyond its genre to say something really deep about the human experience.
Yeah, one of the things I find so fascinating is how the film uses symbolism to enhance those themes. I'm thinking about the Predator's mask. It's not just a cool visual. It actually represents the creature's ability to see the world in a way we can't. Like it can sense heat and infrared radiation.
Oh, yeah, that's a great example. That mask. It becomes this visual metaphor for the predator's hunting skills, its alien perspective, and the limits of how we see things, how humans perceive the world. It's those little touches that elevate Predator. From a good action movie to a truly great one.
It's true. It makes you want to watch it again and again. You catch something new every time, some subtle detail or a clever bit of symbolism. He just adds another layer
Yeah.
to the whole story.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons, I think, Predator continues to be analyzed and debated by fans and critics alike. It's a film that starts conversations, invites you to make your own interpretations. Like, what does the Predator really represent? Is it a force of nature, a symbol of our own destructive tendencies? Is it a commentary on the futility of war?
Yeah, there are no easy answers. And that's part of what makes it so interesting. It doesn't try to spoon feed you the message. It wants you to think about it, engage with the material, draw your own conclusions.
And its impact goes way beyond just film, too. Think about all the merchandise, the video games, all the references to it. In other movies and TV shows, I mean, the Predator has become this icon, a symbol of fear and fascination.
Even the film's catchphrases have become part of our everyday language. You know, get to the chopper. It's like shorthand for any situation where you got to make a quick escape, and if it bleeds, we can kill it. Perfectly captures that whole idea of turning the tables on this seemingly invincible enemy.
It is pretty amazing how a few well-chosen words can become so ingrained in our culture. It speaks to the power of Predator as a film. That breaks down language barriers
Yeah.
and crosses cultures.
It's a story that hits us on this really primal level, tapping into our shared fears, our fascination with the unknown. It's entertaining, terrifying, and thought-provoking all at the same time.
Yeah, Predator reminds us that even within a genre film, you can still explore really complex themes, create characters that stay with us long after the movie's over. It encourages us to look beyond the surface and think about the deeper meaning of the stories we tell and the stories we consume.
So as we head into the final part of our discussion, what can we take away from this deep dive into Predator? What insights or questions does it leave us with?
So, we've talked about how Predator mixes genres and all those expectations it subverts and its lasting impact on film and on culture. But for this last part, kind of want to go back to something we touched on earlier, this idea of the Predator being a reflection of ourselves.
Yeah, that really stuck with me when you said that. What is it about this alien hunter, this creature from another world, that could possibly reflect humanity?
Well, I think you got to start with the Predator's main motivation. It's the hunt. It's driven by this instinct to test its skills, find worthy opponents, prove its dominance.
And you're saying humans share that same urge.
Well, think about it. Throughout history, humans have been fighting wars, engaging in competitions, doing all kinds of dangerous things, all in the name of proving ourselves, pushing our limits, establishing dominance. I mean, we might use fancier words to describe it, but that basic drive to compete and conquer, it's like deep down inside us.
So you're saying all that violence and brutality we see in Predator is a reflection of our own capacity for aggression.
I don't know if I'd say it's a direct reflection, but it definitely raises questions about our darker side. The Predator, as alien as it is, still has a code of honor. It respects strength, cunning, a fair fight. But humans, we don't always follow those rules.
That's a really interesting point. The film's not just making the Predator out to be a mindless killing machine. It's almost suggesting there's a certain respect, even an admiration, for its hunting skills.
Exactly. And that's what makes the ending so thought-provoking. Dutch beats the Predator, not with bigger guns, but by using his brain, understanding his environment, using his own vulnerability against it. It's a victory that comes at a cost. But it shows us how resilient humans can be, how adaptable we are.
Yeah, it's not an easy win. And it really challenges our ideas about heroism. Dutch isn't just this invincible action star. He has to think, plan, embrace his weaknesses.
To survive, and that's a powerful message, right? True strength isn't just about muscles. It's about being able to adapt, to learn, to outsmart your opponent, no matter how strong they are.
So Predator isn't just an action horror flick. It's making a statement about who we are, about our potential for violence and our ability to be clever and resourceful. It's a film that sticks with you long after it's over, makes you think about what it means to be human, the choices we make when we face really tough challenges.
Absolutely. And that's what makes Predator so enduring. It's entertaining. It's terrifying. But it also makes you think.
Well, we've gone deep today into the themes, the symbolism, and the legacy of Predator. We faced the action, experienced the horror, and hopefully came away with a new understanding of this classic film.
It's always fun to go back and revisit these movies to see what else is hidden there.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you some things to think about as you go about your day. Remember the Predator, its cunning, its relentlessness, and how it reflects our own primal instincts. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring.